Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Secret US embassy cables revealed. Iran accuses Israel West in scientist slaying. And an Afghan police officer opens fire on NATO troops, killing 6. Mosaic World News from Middle East begins now.
Two assassination attempts in broad daylight. 2 Iranian nuclear scientists were targeted in the center of the Iranian capital of Tehran. Iranian nuclear scientist Majid was killed and his wife was wounded in a bomb attack in northeastern Tehran. Another scientist, Faridun Abbasi, was wounded along with his wife in a second simultaneous blast near the Shahid Beheshti University in Tehran. The 2 attacks were carried out by 2 bombs that were planted in the scientists' cars. The Iranian Minister of Interior accused the Israeli Mossad intelligence agency and the CIA of orchestrating the attacks. In another Iranian development, Lebanese Prime Minister Saad Hariri continues his visit to Tehran. Hariri, who met yesterday with Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and his Defense Minister Ahmad Vahidi, is scheduled to meet today with Ali Khamenei, the Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic. Vahidi said that his country is willing to cooperate militarily with the Lebanese army. He described those who assassinated former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri as enemies of Lebanon. He added that some outside the country are seeking to take Lebanon hostage in the form of the International Special Tribunal. Joining us directly from Tehran is Dubai correspondent Reda Al-Basha. Reda, are there any new details in the case of the scientists slain? Did any group claim responsibility?
No, no one has claimed responsibility for the attacks that took place this morning near Shahid Beheshti University in Tehran. 2 Iranian nuclear physicists were targeted. The victims are members of the Iranian Nuclear Association, which falls directly under the command of the Iranian Atomic Energy Organization. Faridun Abbasi is a nuclear physicist and a professor at the Shahid Beheshti University. Abbasi's name was mentioned on a sanctions list under UN Security Council Resolution 1747, authorizing sanctions on Iran in 2006. Both scientists have received an Iranian Award of Excellence and were recognized as distinguished physics professors in Iran. As you mentioned earlier, one of the scientists was killed and the other was wounded.
كلا العالمين قد حصلا على الجائزة الإيرانية كأساتذة متميزين في الفيزياء في إيران.
How did the security authorities explain what happened, especially considering that both attacks were carried out in broad daylight? Did they release a list of suspects?
As usual, the Iranian authorities quickly pointed the finger at Tel Aviv and Washington. They held both sides responsible for the bombings. A while back, some Iranian opposition groups based outside Iran reportedly received support from Washington. Iranian Atomic Energy Organization chief Ali Akbar Salehi issued a direct warning to anyone proven responsible for the attacks. In his warning, he said that the enemies of Iran shouldn't play with fire or seek to disrupt Iranian national security because his country's response will be strong. Iran has not identified the group responsible for the bombings, pending the completion of its investigation.
Our
Al Jazeera correspondent learned that the preliminary results from vote counting in the Egyptian parliamentary election showed a wide-scale triumph for the National Democratic Party in terms of the number of winners, followed by the Wafd Party. More than 50% of the votes have been counted so far. The National Party announced a number of its ministers had won, including the oil minister, the monetary minister, the irrigation minister, the international cooperation minister, and others. The Muslim Brotherhood said none of its candidates won any seats in the first round, and that 14 candidates will enter the runoff election on December 5th. Al Jazeera bureau chief Abdel Fattahi is joining us from Cairo to brief us on the latest developments in the parliamentary elections in Egypt. Abdel Fattahi, go ahead.
Yes, Tawfiq. There are new updates on the Egyptian election every minute and every second. In fact, the first round of elections has more or less ended, but the clashes and confrontations over the results have not yet stopped. A little while ago, the security institutions arrested a National Party candidate in al-Bahira province and 22 of his supporters. These detainees had blocked the Sahrawi street and set fire to cars protesting the fact that the candidate lost, even though he is a candidate from the ruling National Party. In Upper Egypt, clashes and protests are also still ongoing in Abu Kurat city in Minya province, Kena city and Kumbo city in Aswan and other cities. Also, a little while ago, an urgent piece of news came. The Egyptian Attorney General sentenced 92 people to prison for charges of violence during an election in a number of provinces. This sentence accurately reflects the number of incidents that occurred during the first round of elections. My colleague, Dina Samak, tells us more about the civil organization's observation of the election in this following report.
The political observers relegated by the government to witness the parliamentary election described it as an election in the dark. The Egyptian civil society organizations say that they were forbidden from monitoring the election in most of the electoral districts. They came out on the morning of the second day to announce their testimony. Representatives of opposition candidates and independent candidates were barred from entering the committees. Fraud and forging ballots were prevalent. Acts of violence and bullying should not be let go without an investigation. The turnout did not exceed 15% in even the best cases.
This act will harm the results of this electoral process and harm the legitimacy of the results, meaning the legitimacy of the next parliament in both domestic public opinion and international opinion.
Since the Egyptian government and a number of opposition parties rejected international monitoring, the representatives of these organizations were there to watch human rights violations that may happen during the election. The testimony of these people did not differ very much. They considered what they saw a signal for what Egypt may witness in the coming presidential elections.
These elections warn of the platform for the coming presidential election. If there is no investigation into the abuses, then it will send a message that high-level violence will be rife in the country.
The opposition may find something in the observers' reports that placates them and justifies their failure. But the Supreme Council affirmed that the election was conducted with full integrity and that the abuses shown in the voting process are not at a level that would cause the results to be doubted. Amid all this controversy, the Egyptian streets are returning to calm, though only temporarily until the runoff election. It will not be the last round of conflicts between the opposition and the ruling party. Dina Samek, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
Dina Samek, Al Jazeera, القاهرة.
أهلا بكم إلى هذه الساعة الإخبارية. تفاعل تسريبات ويكيليكس.
U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said authorities are currently conducting an investigation into the leak of classified U.S. documents. WikiLeaks released about 250,000 classified U.S. files, causing resentment from Washington, who described the move as reckless. Meanwhile, Arab countries' positions on the Iranian nuclear issue that were mentioned in the leaked documents have attracted a lot of media attention.
إيران النووي استحوذت على اهتمام إعلامي.
A 250,000 classified U.S. documents released by WikiLeaks have stirred the whole world and caused major resentment from Washington. Besides that, the mentions of the Arab and Islamic world in the documents led to a large reaction in Arab and international media. The title of today's British newspaper, The Times, reads, "The Arabs urge the United States to attack Iran." Meanwhile, the Lebanese ambassador says a political earthquake may occur in Beirut due to the release of thousands of documents related to Lebanon. Other Arab newspapers such as Bahraini al-Wasat, believe that Washington is facing a diplomatic crisis as a result of these leaked documents. The Arab part of the documents is specially related to the Arab countries' positions on Iran. Some of them mention that Saudi Arabia requested Washington to attack Iran and cut off the snake's head. The King of Bahrain was quoted exhorting Washington to halt Tehran's nuclear program. Qatar's prime minister was quoted saying that the Iranians lie to us and we lie to them. The files also mention that Iran obtained missiles from North Korea and that Europe may be its target. Other documents indicated that Saudi sponsors are still a major financial source for extremist groups, including al-Qaeda. Some of the released documents may cause embarrassment for Washington in front of international organizations. One of them mentioned that U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton instructed her diplomats to spy on telecommunications and high-ranking officials in the United Nations. The White House described the release of these documents as reckless and dangerous, saying that this move may put many people's lives in danger. But the founders of WikiLeaks denied these claims. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange talked from an unknown place to Arab journalists in the Jordanian capital, Amman.
There has been more prosecution of media sources in the Obama era than in all the former presidents' eras combined. This is not normal, and it causes concern that the Obama administration is heading towards a system that does not secure freedom of the press.
In response, Washington launched a campaign to counter it. Some of its allies are trying to take action against the rights of media outlets and the people who facilitate it. This has begun to appear in the official positions of some governments. From Islamabad, who condemned the release, to London, who considered the release of certain documents unacceptable and a danger to national security. Wael Hajar, BBC.
Responding to the WikiLeaks scandal, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israeli interests were not harmed by the leaks. Addressing the traditional November 29th meeting with the country's top journalist, Netanyahu said for some time now he has limited sensitive policy discussions to between 2 and 4 people. He said each person you add increases the chance for a leak. Netanyahu told the journalist, "Your job will become much harder after what happened with WikiLeaks." Turning to the deadlock in the peace negotiations with the Palestinians, the Prime Minister said efforts are still underway to finalize the U.S. document outlining the package of incentives it would give Israel in exchange for a 90-day construction freeze in the settlements. The real problem, said the Prime Minister, is not settlements, it's the future of the State of Israel.
I maintain that this is the problem, not the last house in Gilo or in Ramot, that are integral neighborhoods of Jerusalem, but whether there is a Jewish state, when nothing can change that. Not stereotypes, not repetition day in, day out. It doesn't change this basic fact. Facts have a way of coming to the surface. It may take time, it may take massive leaks, but they ultimately come to the surface. The people of Israel want peace. The government of Israel wants peace. The people of Israel are prepared to take painful steps for peace. The absence of peace so far is based on one problem alone, on whether the Palestinian people and the Palestinian leaders are willing to take their steps for peace.
A man wearing an Afghan police uniform has opened fire on U.S.-led troops in eastern Afghanistan. 6 American soldiers have been killed. NATO saying the incident happened during a training session. It says the shooter was also killed when troops returned fire. A local Afghan official says the incident took place in Nangarhar province, which borders Pakistan. It's not clear if the attacker was an Afghan police officer or a militant infiltrator. A joint team of NATO and Afghan officials are investigating the attack. The incident is the latest in a series of similar shootings. Earlier this month, an Afghan soldier shot and killed 3 American troops in the south. At least 464 American soldiers have been killed in Afghanistan so far this year. Afghan President Hamid Karzai says in order to restore peace in the country, it is crucial to hold talks with Taliban leaders. However, his plan has backfired after his aides said he has been talking to an imposter. The Taliban leader was expected to be Mullah Akhtar Mohammed Mansour, but he quickly turned out to be a shopkeeper living in Pakistan.
A bizarre story. Afghan government has been tracked into holding secret peace talks with a man who was supposedly a key Taliban leader. The leader was expected to be Mullah Akhtar Mohammed Mansour, but turned out to be a shopkeeper. He was brought by British agents to Kabul from Pakistani city of Quetta on a NATO aircraft. This has been admitted by President Karzai's aides. No word yet on it from the British officials.
We saw, at some point, we saw a window of opportunity. That window of opportunity very quickly proved to be fake. We gave up on it.
Afghan officials found out about the identity of the Taliban imposter when one of the participants of the peace talks who previously met Mullah Mansour said he did not recognize the man imposed as Mansour at that side of the negotiating table. Mullah Mansour is a key Taliban figure. He was Minister of Aviation during the Taliban rule. It is said that the imposter was paid a large sum of money by British secret intelligence agency MI6 to take part in peace talks. Now no one knows where he is. He has disappeared right after the preliminary meetings. But why did British officials bring a fake Taliban commander to Kabul?
To us, this means that they are just want to play. They are not after the peace and process in Afghanistan.
The fake Mullah Mansour has had meetings with top Afghan officials. The Western media says that he has even met with President Karzai in his presidential palace. But Karzai denies this and calls it propaganda.
Don't believe what you hear from foreign news agencies regarding our meetings with the Taliban. Most of it is propaganda.
Reconciliation with the Taliban is very important to Afghan President Hamid Karzai. He believes that military option is not the only solution, in that there is a need for some sort of political settlement. Analysts say the presence of the fake Taliban leader was a huge blow to President Karzai, as he has put all his hopes on recent peace talks with the Taliban to turn the tide of growing unrest in the region. However, it has also raised serious questions about the credibility of NATO that facilitated the talks between the Afghan government and Taliban.
The 20th International Conference on the Persian Gulf is underway in the city of Bandar Abbas in southwestern Iran. During the conference, Iran called for cooperation among countries in the region, saying it's the only way to help the region overcome the problems and obstacles impeding its development, growth, and prosperity. Tehran said the region's rich and long history makes it a target for foreign powers' interests and greed.
Under the slogan, Enhancing Cooperation in the Persian Gulf, Stability and Development in the Region, and with the participation of international and local experts and researchers, Iran held its 20th Persian Gulf Conference in the city of Bandar Abbas, in the heart of the Mosaic province. The Persian Gulf region enjoys a rich history that goes back more than 7,000 years. The region has played, and continues to play, an important and defining role in the world's economic, security and political equations.
Since the victory of its revolution, Iran has been raising slogans of peace, brotherhood and cooperation in the region. Iran continues to send messages of peace and love to its Arab brothers through its political positions and the statements of senior officials. It has always extended its hands to cooperate with its neighbors and opened its arms to them in a show of unity and solidarity.
Iran believes that the region's priority should focus on ways to help achieve unity and cooperation among countries of the region. This will help the region identify and assess the challenges and problems impeding its development and growth. The conference aims to help the region explore ways to achieve comprehensive development and lasting peace. As Tehran puts it, no one knows the region better than its people.
The Persian Gulf is one of the most important and sensitive regions in the world, as proven by history, with Portugal being one of the first nations to highlight its importance, even before the discovery of oil there. With its abundant natural resource wealth, the region will continue to be a target for foreign interests.
Through this forum, Iran sees a promising future in the region, especially considering its diverse economic advantages. Iran believes the creation of a union similar to ECO and OPEC that includes members of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Iran and Iraq, will help increase the region's importance in the world. They believe this can be achieved through security orchestrated by the countries in the region. Huda Al-Maghur, Al-Alam, Tehran.
The light of his candle burned out before its time, but he lived his 42 years of life to its fullest and left an unerasable legacy. Majid al-Hamadi is our today's figure in my colleague Ibrahim al-Suki's report.
لم يكن من السهل على ابن صبري حميدي وحفيد أحمد الأسعد وصهر رياض الصلح.
It wasn't easy for the son of Sabri al-Hamadi and grandson of Ahmed al-Assad and Suher Riyad Sula to make a name of his own. But Majid al-Hamadi succeeded and left a special impact on history, even though he never lived through the 5th decade of his life. He was born on May 24, 1945, the 4th son of 10 children to Sabri bin al-Hamadi and wife Zainab, daughter of Ahmed al-Assad. He received his elementary education in a Lebanese women's school in Igberi, then continued his studies at a local secondary school. Then he transferred to the International College of Lebanon and finished his high school education there.
ومع أنه كان بإمكان ابن رئيس مجلس النواب أن ينأى.
As the son of a parliament member, he could have waived the military duty, but he chose to serve in the army. This influenced his political ideology and the way he handled public affairs. Throughout his life, he adopted a united national position. He obtained a degree in economics and political science at the American University in Beirut. He got his master's degree in economics from Georgetown University. In Washington, D.C., he worked at the United Nations headquarters and was registered as a permanent member of the Lebanese delegation. When the Lebanese Foreign Ministry sent him his paycheck, he refused to accept it and sent it back to the Treasury Department, saying he would not accept a salary for something he did not do. He believed that he did not deserve it, and it would not be wages earned legally and rightfully.
رافضا قبض راتب عن عمل لم يقم به وأعيد المبلغ إلى الخزينة مؤثرا الوداعة والقناعة على المال الحرام وكنوز الممنوع.
After he was appointed the Director General of the Investment Department in the Lebanese government, he left the U.S. and returned to Beirut to work in public affairs. Soon, Majid attracted attention from the Lebanese president at the time, Rashid Shula, who offered him a job in the president's cabinet in 1974. Majid was appointed Minister of Education and was able to solve many educational problems. Majid al-Hamadi, who was strongly opposed to the formation of militias, had major political influence in the Bekaa area. One signal from him could have motivated hundreds, even thousands of followers.
على الرغم من أن إشارة منه كانت كافية لتعبئة المئات بل الآلاف من البواريد. في الثالث من آذار عام 76 تزوج كريمة زعيم الاستقلال رياض الصلح.
On March 3, 1976, he married Layla, daughter of Riyad Sulu, head of the independence movement. They had a daughter named Haya, who became a pediatrician, and a son named Sabri, who graduated from the same university as Majid. His other daughter, Maha, works for one of the United Nations agencies. In June 1987, Majid was diagnosed with an incurable disease and started treatment in Lebanese hospitals and abroad. In between medical treatments, he continued his work and activities without letting the illness bring his morale down or letting the people around him feel his pain. In the midst of his struggle with the disease, which led to the extraction of half of his digestive system, he ran in the 1992 parliamentary elections to represent the Baalbek Hermil district. He succeeded, but was then ousted. He told a friend in his inner circle after the election that his nomination was out of principle and to set an example for the future. He knew all along that his first nomination would be his last.
أن ترشحه كان مبدئيا ولإثبات موقف للمستقبل، وأنه كان يعلم تماما أن الترشح الأول هو الأخير.
On the occasion of commemorating the veterans, I must commend the resistance in the South. It is the only honorable act taking place on Lebanese soil.
خريج جورجتاون الشاب الأنيق الوسيم.
This handsome graduate of Georgetown University did not take off his sheikh's cloak when he put on his necktie, as he continued to lead mediation and reconciliation between rival tribes. Walid Junblat described him as a faithful friend of the Arab nation. Abdul Amir Kabalan said that he was an honest and charitable man. Rashid Sula considered him a role model for young Lebanese and Arab leaders. On Sunday, November 20th, 1994, Majid descended from the saddle of his horse, leaving it to gallop alone in the wilderness of its country, and died at Johns Hopkins Hospital. Despite the stormy weather, more than 100,000 people attended his funeral. Most of them were admirers from various tribes, including al-Hamadi. The tribe passed his sheikh's cloak down to his son Sabri and cried for his nobility, morality, and prestige.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible from support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news. Read our blog. Get transcripts of past shows and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.